So we're talking about choosing your path. And in stage 2, if you read the book for the homework, stage 2 talks about the entrepreneur plan. Did you all read that? Okay, and can anybody tell me the difference between an entrepreneur plan, which is something I made up myself, and a business plan? What did it say? What's the difference?
Entrepreneur plan about you.
Exactly. So a business plan, you're going to write, who in here has ever written a business plan for school or for a project or for something else? Okay. I was designed to write lots of business plans in entrepreneurship class at Penn State or in finance class or anything like that. And who do you write a business plan for? What's the point of a business plan? What's that?
Investors.
Investors, right. So you write a business plan because you want to get money. And so you need to tell someone what is your plan for the business. And so you're always writing a business plan with this eye of like, okay, someone's going to be sitting across from me at a table, they're going to be reading this business plan, and I need to be telling them why they should invest in this business. But very rarely has anybody asked, like the primary investor in your business will be you. You might not have the money, but you are the one giving all of the sweat equity into it. And so writing a business plan from the standpoint of yourself and asking yourself really hard questions. Like the reason a business plan is great is that your investors get to ask you really hard questions like, do these financials make sense? Does your marketing plan make sense? Does your team, can your team actually function like this? But I just find that it's one of the last things that most entrepreneurs do. They get dollar signs in their eyes, or they see a problem that should be solved, and they get started on solving that problem. One thing leads to another. Then they're in it over their head, and they're now doing this project, and they may not actually even care about it. So it's just important that you write an entrepreneur plan. And one of the things that I want you to do, because for the rest of the class, we're going to be basically building a business plan. And you are going to be pitching this to investors at the end of the project. So on November 22nd, I think, is going to be pitch day. And so you're going to have to write your plan and do your presentation as if you're speaking to investors. But as you're putting it together, I want you to be thinking all the time, okay, does this marketing plan or does this sales plan or do these financials work for me? And what I mean by that is like, if you've got to borrow, $2 million to do your project, you've got to think about what that's going to feel like. Can you do that? Maybe you can't. Actually, borrowing $2 million is a lot easier than borrowing $200,000 usually, as long as you have the right idea, and you end up in Silicon Valley. My business partner, or not my business partner, one of my college roommates, I think I might have shared this before, but one of my college roommates, I started Diamondback in college. He was a roommate of mine at that time, and he was going to start a business, but he was very, very tech-focused, coding guy, like you guys. And started his business about 3 or 4 years after I started mine. And so right about the time I was entering like $500,000 in debt, he sold his business for $20 million after 2 years and 0 revenue. So it was a business called CoTweet, and this was back in the early days of Twitter when Twitter had just come out, and CoTweet was a suite of tools that helped business use Twitter. So if you figure like businesses were trying to figure out how to use Twitter, he created a suite of tools that would allow you to use Twitter, sold it to, I think, a company called ExactTarget that eventually got bought by Constant Contact or some giant email marketing program. So since then, he's launched like 10 businesses and all of them have failed. He didn't learn very much in that process, but he was able to access funding. And once you're in Silicon Valley and you have a home run like that, like he could literally say, I have an idea at a restaurant, and like $2 million would show up at his bank account like the next day. Like the access to capital was crazy. But it's an industry in which the vast majority of startups. He's probably one of the smartest people I know, and he's not been able yet to reproduce the success he's had with one. So anyway, the point is, do your homework so that you know that you actually care about the problem you're trying to solve. I cannot stress that enough. If you actually care about what you're trying to do, it will not feel like work nearly as much as it can. You're still going to, no matter what you do, you're going to be doing things day to day that you don't like doing. But if you can't tie it to the actual vision of what this organization or what this product's going to do, you'll have a much higher chance of burning out if you can't attach it.